this Twitch channel for quite some time now, or YouTube if you're watching the VOD. Welcome back to... Oh, wow, only 5 seconds in and I've already got a copyright strike. Thanks. Nah, I'm sure it won't get picked up, and if it does, I'll cry. Okay. So, welcome back to the roleplay, but different than it was before, as I made the executive decision and everyone agreed that we're gonna start over. I wasn't too pleased with the original campaign. It felt like beginner's first attempt at the RP, which, to be fair, it's the first time I'm running the system. Was the first time running the system. So we decided to start afresh. Luckily, I've managed to wrangle back everyone here to play tonight. Talon, oh no, you're in the lobby now. I just spotted you get back in. I was just about to shout at you. Oh dear. Okay. So, I think the way we shall do this is I'll quickly set the tone for what the I have not turned off my... Have I not turned off my stream notifications? Sorry, I don't put on stream notifications for... Where is that coming from? Sorry, it's been... I haven't got the thing in my sources. That's weird. I haven't got... I'll work it out. I apologize for the time being. I'll try and find that out. So yeah, I'll set the tone. Everyone will introduce their characters, and we'll get straight into it. Does that sound good to everyone? Cool. Okay, let us get started, shall we? It is November 27th, 1927. We find ourselves on an eerie Wednesday night in the post-recovering war economy of Great Britain, inside the capital of London. It's a wet and kind of more moody night. The light drizzle of rain taps around over the heads and shoulders of everyone walking around the post-war London. England has started finally showing its slow and steady recovery after the tragic events of World War. However, all is not as it seems, as tonight begins something much greater than any political power could have started. We find ourselves in the west end of the rebuilt London, inside a grand opening of the Astral Theatre. Why don't we go meet the kindred for tonight? So let's go. I'll go left to right on the Roll20. So Anis, why don't you introduce your character first? Dom? Talon? Stephanie? Very good. They find themselves outside this theatre after receiving invitation. Oh, can't. Is it not? Is it? Just someone speak. Oh, I know what's going on. Oh, I feel dumb. I know what's going on. One moment. Okay. Okay. Someone's. Can you hear? Can you hear Storm now, guys? Can you hear Storm speaking chat? Why is this? I know what's it's. Oh god, I hate Windows updates. Uh, yep, it's decided to mess around. It it's none of you. It's none of you guys. Trust me. Okay,
It's like broadcast the sound that you're hearing as
there we
well as like
go.
your own sound.
There we go. It's basically messed around with my default audio settings. There we go. Oh, nope. You're gonna have to wait one more moment because I had to just change something because it's dumb. Audio output. New desktop audio.
We want to hear his dulcet tones.
Okay, try again.
Well,
There we
okay.
go.
Bop,
Oh, that's so weird.
God damn it.
It was telling me my audio levels were all balanced, and as soon as I started streaming, no, it's not. It's telling no, it doesn't see you lot anymore. Fucking OBS. Okay, we'll try that again, shall we?
It's all good. It's all good.
So left to right. Anis, again, please.
I had to do it while I was taking a sip of tea.
I apologize.
It's alright. Evening, my name is Diego Hyde. It is a pleasure to meet you all.
Storm.
I'm Bill, Black Bill Silver, also known as William, but only my mother calls me that.
Talon.
My name is Charles, Charlie for short, Morgan, and I'm just happy to be here.
And Stephanie.
Bonsoir. My name is Esther Desmarais. It is a pleasure, I think, to be here tonight.
Okay. Got everyone with a brief introduction. Let's find out why they. Over the course of the past month, each one of you has received an invitation through various means of whatever. To keep this a bit more interesting to the viewers and to probably the party members, because I don't think you've directly discussed it with each other. I'm not going to get you to reveal how you've received your invitations. I think that'll be a bit fun. So, otherwise, you've all received invitations to be here, and they've all been signed off by a Dominic Estral. You would notice that his name is branded on the theatre of its grand opening. Outside, you find yourselves in one of two lines, the one which contains what most commonly we refer to as the riffraff, and the other of everyone that holds an invitation. Reporters with their crude cameras dot the lines up as the kind of poor lighting inside of London is slowly just kind of building the scene to you. The doors at exactly 9 o'clock in the evening get opened up and reveals you guys can roughly see from where you're stood, but you're all in different positions in the queue, and you can see a man walk out front. Probably, I'd say all of you would be able to hear him just fine, thanks to your enhanced hearing through being kindred. And he basically greets the crowd. Hello, and thank you for coming to the grand opening of my humble theatre. It was my father's dream to own such an establishment. My deepest regret is that he was not alive to see it. You can probably hear a faint sniffle coming from him from the distance you're at. Anyway, as we have rules, obviously The VIP guests with their invitations may come in first. Everyone else, depends if we have room for you or not. And as for the reporters, well, could have bought a ticket, really. He finds him. He steps back, and the queue begins moving. Eventually, you start making your way to the front of the queue. Person who's furthest in front of the queue would be, I'd say it'd be Black Bill. You reach the front door and you see Dominic. He offers to shake your hand.
Yeah. So what I do is I just on the front of my trousers rub my hands a bit, and then I'll lift it up, and regardless, the hand is still covered in like black soot, and I extend it to shake the man's hand.
You notice he's wearing gloves, so you quickly shakes your hand before taking the glove off, handing it to someone near him and putting a fresh one on. It is lovely to see you, sir. The man stood next to him is a giant of a human being. So you probably guess his height at around 6'6", or about 2 meters 1 for our metric users, I think it is.
He's
2
they're tall.
2
They're
meters,
tall.
yeah. Dark skinned, short black hair, wears a very well cut suit. He goes, invitation. Talking to you.
Yeah, here it is. I'll reach inside my jacket and get out.
Looks and goes. He looks at your invitation and then looks to Dominic. Before Dominic opens. I'm sorry, but I'm a little confused. I believe this invitation was due for Mr. Barton, and you're very much not him.
Well, I'm here on Mr. Barton's behalf. He couldn't make it, so he sent me.
Do you have any just idle proof that this might be the case? Any note or anything?
I'm trying to remember if I do.
You got given an envelope, remember?
Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah. Well, I have this. I'll just hang on, and I fetch out another envelope from my pocket. Here you go. Sorry.
The taller man takes it from your hand and quickly opens up and skims through it. He looks to Dominic and goes, "This is his envoy for the evening." It's like Dominic quickly gives a quick and courteous bow and goes, "My apologies. Just better to be safe than secure. Such a man who I'm so dearly close with. It's very strange to see someone not him bearing his invitation."
It's no worries, sir. No problem at all.
The taller man holds the door open for you. Says, "Please find whatever seat makes you feel comfortable."
Yeah, I go in and find a bar and take a seat there.
Of course. Question to Stephanie and Helen. Would your characters have arrived together? Or do you think you would have been separate arrivals?
Good question.
I mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
my character would be amenable to the idea of accompanying Esther to this event. However, whether she would want to be would like to be in the presence of me when she's doing this, because I know her character, it's 50-50.
It might have been a couple of weeks of silence, but then like the night before, maybe they just happened to cross paths again and then decide it's probably a good idea maybe that they would come together, even though they're not together, but just arrive at the same time.
I know.
She feels a bit more secure that way.
Yeah.
You reach the front of the just on the line. Dominic gives you his greeting and go. He just goes, I believe I'm aware of you two. I believe you've met my colleague in the past recently.
I believe we may have actually done so, yes. They were the one who actually gave us the invite, I'm assuming.
The tall gentleman just nods and doesn't really say much, other than after a brief delay, invitations. Dominic just looks and goes, "You handed it to them. You know they're welcome in. I'm sorry for his rudeness."
Hardly. It's absolutely fine. I mean, obviously, the fine fellow is just doing his job.
He's that we can always rely on. He's abrasive yet trustworthy and definitely helpful. Anyway, make yourselves at home. The show will start hopefully sooner rather than later.
Thank you very much. And I let Esther go first.
She just gives a polite nod to Dominic and a slight smile and goes in after handing her invitation.
After a brief delay, Diego, you find yourself at the start of at the front of the queue. Invitation.
He just casually hands it over and it's like, "Here you go."
Okay. Sir? The taller man says to Dominic. I apologize. I just don't recognize you, but you have an invitation and Joseph. So thank you, Mr. Sanders, and please find yourself at home.
Don't mind if I do. And he just casually wanders in.
Right, you find yourselves inside the theatre. It's already a bit ruckus in here, given there's probably around 60 or so guests in the room. It's a fairly spaced out, very much high luxury theatre. Separate dining tables to each group of individuals, pretty much. A large, very impressive looking bar with a range of alcohols to stuff to that is not particularly, none of the particular low end stuff is on there. It's mostly very expensive premier liqueurs, wines, beers, all that kind of stuff. Most of them probably very foreign sounding, or to more regional members of the party, probably fairly local sounding. Everyone is kind of mishmashing and chit-chatting. It's very much a in vogue kind of arrangement, as people seem to be very familiar with each other for the most part. However, so how much would you guys say you're being very observant of the people in here?
I mean,
much so.
yeah, I'm looking for someone, so also very much so.
Okay, so I imagine
it's Esther, of course, is being as she is, and a little still uneasy being around this many people. So she immediately tries to scout out exit points, dark locations, and then does the overall scan of the crowd, just trying to get an idea of who's here and if they're just keeping in their own circles or if there's like lone wolves that seem to be lurking around in different places, just being a little bit hyper vigilant. She's really not saying anything at the moment.
Okay, so I'm guessing Esther and Talon's character are staying very close to each other.
Oh yeah. I'll be keeping my eyes out for anyone who looks interesting. Anybody who's like standing out from the crowd. Anybody who has that entrance, that eccentric twist that my character seems to gravitate towards.
Excellent. So, I'm going to say everyone noticed because you're all being fairly observant of everything going on. You notice as people get inside and the door closes, there's basically 3 doors. There's the outside door, an inner door, and then another inner door. So, a bit unusual, but it's what it is. As you know, if people get into the kind of the main congregating area, a lot of people start putting masks on, kind of very much drama theatre, but more very eccentric. Esther would probably recognise a lot of them as French in origin, in terms of the aesthetic on them. Some of them are a bit more unusual to what your tastes would be. they are there. Not every single person has one on, but there are quite a few. Okay. The doors eventually stop letting people in as the room kind of fills to its capacity, and everyone is kind of idly chit-chatting away. However, Talon, you can only... sorry, I'm not used to referring to your new character names. That's my bit.
Just call him Charlie. Just say Charlie.
Charlie. You notice that even though you can only see half a face because of the styling of the mask, you do recognize them.
Oh. Oh no, it's not her, is it?
It is her.
Oh no. My character's just going to going to become a little bit more cautious, kind of like trying to deliberately not connect with her gaze directly. I just if she noticed me, I'm just praying to whatever gods exist that she does not come over.
Unfortunately for you, she notices you and begins to approach you. Ah, Charles, how are you this evening?
I'm doing okay. Now, my character is probably still at the point where he's a little apprehensive about everything, considering. So.
It's so good to see someone. You see yourself in such an event. You must know the correct people in order to be invited to such an event.
To be perfectly honest, I hardly know anybody. I was just happened to be invited one day with a present company. I'm just going to gesture over to Esther.
It's like, oh, I didn't realize you had a +1. That is phenomenal. She gives you a very respectful curtsy and goes, Amina Cedricson. You may... She just looks to Charlie and goes, "Is this one would you say this one's reasonable?"
More than reasonable. She's one of the nicer people I've met.
Well, I trust your judging your character. You may know Miss Marie Clark as she extends a hand out to you.
At that introduction, Esther's eyebrows raised a little bit in surprise. She had a expression of kind of confusion at first about this individual, but then as she introduced herself, Esther's eyebrows raised. Oh, of course, it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
I see you're familiar with me then.
I must admit I am familiar with some aspects of your work. I believe I've seen one or two pieces on public display, but I am yet to have the pleasure of meeting yourself in person.
Well, it's not every day that I get to meet someone that actually appears to be at least aware of my work. Although maybe I'm just a bit too in over my head, really, as in record selling artist and all that. Try not to let it go to my head too much. She gives a kind of unnerving kind of laugh. Very much you can tell she's a bit full of herself. It's like, I can say that is a rather fascinating accent. Paris?
Yes, I've lived there for the past year, and I'm originally from France.
Ah, well, I do hope that you're enjoying the lovely Isles of England.
Very much so. I've very much made my home here.
He just turns back to Charlie. I had no idea you would be bringing such a beautiful +1. Is she interesting, would you say?
She's absolutely fascinating. I think that she's probably as I said, she's probably one of the nicest people I've ever had the pleasure of being in contact with.
She kind of tilts her head at you because she's wearing a half-face mask, so you can see roughly, you can more or less tell what her expressions are. She's a bit tilted on the head, and she goes, niceness doesn't necessarily dictate interesting, Charles. You should know that, being a doctor and all.
Agreed, but how should I put this more politely? She's a good person. doesn't necessarily mean that she's a nice person, but she's a good person. The world needs more of those.
Well, as a doctor of your persuasion, I would imagine that you are very good at deciphering that from people, so I'll trust your judgment. She gives Esther another polite bow. I have to return to my little courtier over there. Please, if you need a table to sit, mine can. I am lucky enough to have one that can fit 20, and I've got some spare seats should you need it.
How would what?
That would be a wonderful invitation. I look forward to speaking with you further.
Hope you enjoy your evenings.
And you.
I'll just let you know when she said that there was a look of panic on my character's face, and then he tried to cover it up as fast as possible.
All right then. Bill, are you just patrolling the bar at the moment? Are you trying to like interrogate people? What are you up to?
I'm talking to the barman.
Okay. The barman's quite young. Looks quite young, probably in his early 20s at most. Short slip back hair, wearing kind of a wearing trousers, button-up shirt, tight, nice vest, waistcoat. Looks pretty like prim and proper. It's like, hello, sir. How may I help you today?
I'm looking for someone.
Well, sir, there is a lot of people here. You're gonna have to narrow it down if I'm going to be able to help with such a thing.
Just keep an eye out for a Mr. Sanders. You don't know him, do you?
I can't say I do. I'm not exactly privy to the entire guest list. However, I imagine any member of security, the higher end of the security team, will have the full guest list to be able to tell you if he's at least here today.
That's a good idea. I think I'll take myself off and find someone and just politely ask them.
Okay, can I at least interest you in a drink before you leave?
Not really overly thirsty, if I'm honest. I'm just
very,
getting a job.
very well, sir. I still hope you enjoy your evening. You try and
You have a nice night too.
you try and find the security team, or are you gonna like pitter around for a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I'm here to do a thing. I think either before or after things start is the best time to do that. And so I'm gonna go now before we get too much further into stuff.
Okay. You search around to see you're bouncing heads between a couple of the obvious security guards that have got a fairly strict uniform, full black suit, black tie, and a small, basically a bit of a security badge that's embroidered onto the blazer breast pocket. You probably go between 4 or 5 security before one of them just sees, kind of basically pulls you aside, goes, he's not the tallest bloke in the world, definitely a little bit shorter than you, short, blonde hair, bit tied back in a ponytail. He goes, sir,
Yeah, maybe you can help me. I'm looking for someone and just would like to know if they arrived.
well, I can certainly try and find out, sir. However, might I request that you be a bit less forthcoming, because you seem to be unnerving some of the guests at this point.
Yeah, why are they unnerved?
Well, you're an interesting individual that's bouncing around between every security guard, and it's a bit, odd doing so when you're not a member of staff. You have to remember this is a very secular kind of thing, and most people are aware of each other at this point, so seeing someone they don't know, a bit, unnerving, shall we say.
I'm on the dodge. No, trust me, if I was, I'd know. But I just was looking for the person in charge to ask, that was all.
Well, if you really want the person in charge, you're probably gonna have to speak to sorry, probably gonna have to speak to Mr. Carter over there. As he points behind himself, and you see the same individual that was stood out front to let you in.
All right, pal. Thanks very much. I'll go have a word with him.
No worry, and well, good piece of advice. Try to be respectful.
This is respectful.
Your funeral, and he just walks off. I'm assuming you approach Mr. Carter.
Yeah.
Like, he kind of just sees you approaching and just looks at you. What do you want?
All right, boss. Look, here's the deal. I'm supposed to be meeting someone. I just would like to know if they've turned up.
I can certainly check the tick off the who's here list if you wish.
Yeah, I'm looking for a Mr. Sanders.
Pulls out his clipboard and scrolls down. Yep, he's here.
Happen to be able to point him out to me. We've exchanged letters several times, and you know, the plan was to meet this evening.
He looks around the hall. Being tall as he is, it's quite easy to see out and see people over the head of the crowd. Goes, that's him over there. The guy with the kind of flicked up brown hair and the brown coat. That should he's the one you're looking for. And might I request that you don't start a scene?
Funny, you not the only person to give me that advice. But don't worry, I've no intention of causing a scene.
Well, I say this because I know who you're here for, and quite frankly, as much as Mr. Astral is very fond of your employer, I really, really do not have the patience for a fight this evening.
Well, it's funny because the other person that gave me that advice was Mr. Barnes. So you know, I think it's suit us both if there was no scene. You know,
Be watching
do
you.
me that well. That's fine. Now I know who's in charge. I'll be keeping an eye on you two. It's always best to know who the big man is around here.
He just sulks and starts getting back to what he was doing. I'm assuming you approach the person he points out.
Yeah, I will do.
Diego, you noticed that Bill has approached you.
Oh yeah, what have I done now?
Well, I don't actually know that. But the fact that you know you've done something is probably a bit of a giveaway that, you know, look, I'm not here to cause a scene. But I'm just going to say you and I should leave this event together.
Is this an invitation back to yours or mine? You're very forward, I have to be honest.
Now not one of them, you know, not like...
You're not like what? I mean, you're the one who invited me.
It's not like that. I mean, look.
Oh my, I didn't know you were a shy one.
Look.
Now tell me, we haven't met before. What would you like? What are you into? Maybe we can have a deal.
Yeah, maybe we could make some arrangement.
Well, speak up.
Well, we could go back to mine, I guess, and I'd talk it over a drink.
So what sort of drink are you thinking?
Something stiff.
Ah. Like the good stuff, I see. I'm afraid you have the wrong person, though. Or I assume you do.
You're Mr. Sanders, right?
Me? I'm currently looking for the guy. Huh? See, look, I even have the pictures for him. Look. He pulls out a poster. Can you show the picture, Scarlet?
I'm showing it now.
Thank you.
Oh
See,
my
look,
God.
it looks exactly like it. I mean, it ain't me. Look, we look nothing alike. He puts it right next to his face. Now, if you can help me find this guy, maybe we can have a deal.
I'm looking for him too, so it might be in our best interest to work together. But look, this better be no stitch up.
Hey, look, I wouldn't joke about someone owing me rent.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I work for Mr. Barton, and if you don't know that name, that's probably for the best. But he's not someone you want to mess about with,
Mr. Bond.
and by
Why not?
extension, neither am I.
After that, you hear a slight dinging noise. Kind of sounds like someone's tapping a spoon against glassware. So you see Mr. Barton, who's not Mr. Barton. Sorry, this is the conversation. Dominic Astral stood on the stage and is like, "Can I have everyone's attention, please? Everyone like to make their seats now, so that we can so I can just do a quick couple announcements, and then if we can get started with the actual production." I'm assuming everyone finds a table to sit in. Does Esther and Charlie sit at the invitation that was given to Marie's video table?
Picking up on his
Reluctantly.
unease, she would ask if he feels comfortable sitting at her table, or if he would prefer not to.
Unfortunately, this is one of those situations where avoidance isn't really an option for me. Don't worry, round you, she is going to be completely amenable and perfectly safe.
That concerns me, though. What do you mean by that?
She's an interesting character. I personally think that you two will get on like house on fire. She is probably, I would probably say she's probably the safest place to be.
She narrows her eyes a little bit, but still goes over to Marie's table, not wanting to be rude to her invitation.
I also go over there like a sheep being lured to slaughter.
As she's moving towards the table, Esther does make sure that her hair is parted slightly, because her hair is parted across her face, and it is hiding one of her eyes.
You
So it's completely out of sight.
You take a seat. There's a couple different people sat around the table. As Charlie sits down, Anne Marie, sorry, there's two different names in there. Armenia Cedricson just immediately sits uncomfortably close to Charlie. It's like, she's just like, so it's been so long since we've had a quite close sit down with each other, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Not since that fateful night.
Strappingly handsome as always, might I add.
Thank you for the compliment. It's greatly appreciated. And you can just like see if vampires could sweat, he'd be sweating right now.
She quickly kind of eyes over towards Esther and is like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm being invasive to your companion's personal space and yours as well. My apologies." And she's just kind of leans back in the chair and just starts looking towards the stage as Dominic is waiting for everyone to sit down. I'm assuming Diego and Bill are going to be sat at the same table, probably on the outside. I imagine, knowing what you two would be like.
I mean, Bill is wherever he's sitting. He's not letting Diego out of his sight.
As they sit down at a table, he'll just give Bill a quick wink.
Okay. Okay. It goes. He looks in and goes,
Like that fella. I'm not one of them. It's just,
Oh, come on, it's fun to tease.
Dominic looks around and then looks towards head security. Mr. Carter, would you say everyone here is prepared and everyone that doesn't need to be here is gone? He gives him a quick nod and goes, all sorted, boss. So, very good. He looks at him and goes, sorry, forgotten the word. 1 second, I just need to check it. Should have put my note. Ah, there we go. Cool. So he goes, as we are all very much together and happy this evening, I first of all would like to propose this first toast to everyone here that's made my father's dream come true, and we're finally able to open up a theatre in his name. I'll miss you, Father. And he takes a sip of whatever it is he's drinking, and then looks towards the crowd again. And now, of course, we have some minor businesses to attend. I think the first one is I'd like to welcome everyone here who's here for the first time. I know, for example, it looks towards where Bill is at. It's like we have someone who is the word I used there, like envoying for Mr. Barton and his family. It's unfortunate that he couldn't be here tonight, but at least someone is here in his stead. So thank you very much for being here.
I merely tip my head and kind of like half say, "You're welcome."
Even it appears that his lower end is as respectful as he instructs himself to be. So at least he hasn't lost his choice in character, as it were. Got a couple new faces down here as they look. He starts eyeing up Charlie and Esther. It's like it's very nice to see the newest blood, as if it were, if you ignore the humor as it was. Gives a quick like gestured toast and finishes off whatever he had left in his glass. But you all know what that means. If there have been new people newly sired in recent times, it means someone in here hasn't been following the rules. As soon as you hear that, an individual in kind of the center back row of the table starts panicking and starts trying to run out the building before Carter just grabs him by the throat and starts dragging him onto the stage. Now,
At this, Esther having her attention called to her previously, she is already looking distressed, and at that gesture of violence, she's going to stand up.
it's like as you kind of start standing up, Armina kind of like not forcibly grabs your wrist, but very gently touches you and just goes, "Sit back down. You don't want to cause a scene during this."
Esther does as she requests, very, very slowly sits back down, but her shoulders are shaking. She's deeply distressed.
As Dominic continues speaking, as we all know, the siring of new vampires without the explicit permission of the Camarilla is forbidden in London, and for very good reason. It is important that we keep up the masquerade, as long as we do that, it makes our lives noticeably. He looks down towards the distressed individual, short, kind of grey hair. He looks pretty old from his looks. Probably guess he's in about his 50s, or what you assume to be his 50s. He goes, and so he kind of grabs him by the chin and goes, "Isn't that right, Mr. Anton?" He goes, "No. Look, I didn't mean to do it. I did it by accident." "Yes, you did it by accident. But we don't forgive accidents for crimes now, do we?" Like, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." He's like, "It's what it is." So Dominic looks to Carter and goes, "Do it, sir." And within the next 10 seconds, you see him, Miss Carter, pouring what looks to be a fairly expensive alcohol over the individual's body, and then sets him on fire. The smoke alarms go off, but after about 20 seconds of hearing his screams, he eventually stops screaming. And the smoke alarms get pushed out, and then before the body basically stops twitching, there's already members of service staff trying to clean up the mess. As we remember, make this be served as a reminder. We do not any disruption to the masquerade and for failing to follow the laws of the Camarilla is punishable by death. This one will be out in the sun in the morning just to make 100% sure he's dead. Understanding? There's a kind of stuttled confirmation coming from the crowd. Like, with that, unfortunately tragic business out the way, I think it's time to begin the show.
I'm actually going to quickly just, against my character's better judgment, I'm going to just turn to my to the lady who invited us over and go, "Excuse me, is there sets of rules that I am not aware of? What's going on? Is this normal?"
So, Almina basically starts whispering, trying to be as delicate while maintaining focus on the stage at the same time. There are many rules in vampire society, but there are basically 2 rules that you'll be wanting to follow while you find your stay in London, especially with she just looks around and just goes, "We're in good company," especially while the prince is in our presence, to say the least.
You mean to tell me that every single person here is the same as? I thought there was only a limited. I didn't realise there were so many.
There are thousands of us in here in London. Some more civilized than others, shall we say? But here's the two rules you should be following while you're about. Rule number 1: you don't disclose you're a vampire to anyone. Kindred is the word we tend to use for the more civilized conversation.
Okay, duly noted.
Rule number 2: the siring, or put it in terms you may understand easier, the creation of new vampires is strictly forbidden without the express permission of the Camarilla, which is the organisation that Mr. Astral over there is head representative when it comes to London. He looks over and goes, "See the big man on the stage with him?"
Yes.
That is Samuel Carter. You'll probably, once you get to, if you ever have the pleasure of getting to know him better, you'll be referring to him as Sheriff whenever you speak. He's basically the right hand man of Dominic. So if he's coming to see you, it means you have done something very wrong.
Okay, I'm just gonna sit in my chair, just processing this.
We're a surprisingly civilized society, all things considered.
As
Ignoring
she says that,
ignoring
yeah,
what you see on the stage there. You follow the rules, you don't get hurt. You don't follow the rules, well, poor Anton there was only a mere 2 weeks before retirement. I suppose you'll probably have 1,000 questions, given this is your first meeting of the society, as it were.
I guess.
To be fair, they don't normally set them on fire on stage, but I feel like tonight Mr. Astral wanted to make a very vivid point to all the new blood in here, you included, probably.
Yes, message taken. Greatly so. Yes.
They don't mean it in any form of malice to you. It's just we have very strict rules and and we have to live our lives. Maybe if he was in a different place, there'd be different rules. But fair to say, if the camera is about, you should be at least slightly concerned about
things. Very, very well. My character is stuttering. He is panicked again.
Trust me, this won't be the first time you see someone set ablaze. Oh god, Twitch notification again. I don't get it. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, you'll probably see a lot of that in the future, sooner rather than later. She looks around and goes, "You know that guy he pointed out, guy in the coat, Bill, I think he said his name was."
Yes.
He works. You may have heard Mr. Barton. Desmond's his first name. Lovely individual, very respectful. Do rate him highly. He, for example, is one of the let's call him upper management, in terms you'll understand. He got a small group that help enforce a lot of the civility we have. You ever have a problem? Talk to Mr. Barton. He'll definitely be able to solve your problems for a price, of course. He looks around the room a bit more. It's like, it really seems like a lot of management's just not here this evening. Oh well, I'm sure you'll come to meet them in time. Dominic then kind of gets everyone's attention. Apologies for the mess, but needs must be done. So, sorry? I feel like today it's going to do something new. This is going to be from we're going to have something performed tonight. A bit more of an import from our brothers and sisters from overseas. American play. A Connecticut Yankee, Good News shall be performed this evening. I do hope you enjoy. Does anyone get up during the performance or do anything, or you just kind of just patiently watching the show as it goes
on? Esther, despite her getting up at being acknowledged in the events that happened, realizing what situation she's found herself in, she is going to sit there and not say a word, but her posture does not change from being tense, like she's got a steel rod up her back. She is tense and she is terrified.
Double that.
Bill?
If she could sweat, she would be.
Bill?
I'm gonna clap a hand on Diego's thigh, and just turn to him. One thing I'm a bit confused about, though, here, fella. The big man, the one that doused that other fella in what looked like, frankly, a waste of good alcohol. These upper crust people have more money than sense. You set someone alight far easier with far cheaper materials. But yeah, he pointed you out to me as Mr. Sanders. And it doesn't strike me as something he'd get wrong. So why are you known to him as Mr. Sanders if you're not Mr. Sanders?
Quick question, Scarlett.
Sure.
Do I still have the invitation?
You do have an invitation. All he did was stamp it.
Cool. I just wanted to check because
Yeah.
He pulls out the invitation and he just hands it over to Bill. And he's like, "Look, it's not addressed to me. We used to live together, same rent and all. Fucker. Look, my name's Diego. Diego. I am not Quincy. I am not the guy you are looking for. We are looking for the same guy. Also, you say you're not into this stuff. You seem very, very touchy. You saying you haven't dabbled before?
Now listen here.
I'll listen.
I very quickly let go of his fine. That's good enough explanation for me for now. But I ain't letting you out of my sight.
No. Glad to know someone thinks of me.
Yeah, I'm thinking of doing something to you, alright?
Oh my. Would you like to tell me more? Or
You
would you
wouldn't
like
like
it private?
God.
Let's just say, if you keep up with those insinuations, things are likely to get a little bit rough. Handsy, you might say.
Oh my. I quite like that way. But if you wish me to stop, I shall.
Probably be best for you if you did.
He sighs and just goes back to looking at the crowd. Kind of looking a little bit bored.
Oh, dear. You're not interested in the show-stopping musical number?
He's more interested in trying to find a guy that needs to pay his fucking rent.
I'm guessing you were like you handed out some of your flyers to some of the tables.
Oh yeah, he's probably sneaked them like underneath drinks, into people's pockets.
There is a lot of during the show. There's a lot of confusion. There's just occasional pickups of why is this child's drawing on my table?
I see my my beautiful art piece is spread.
You draw about as good as I read, fella.
Oh, you must be an excellent reader then.
Yeah, first thing they did down the mines is teach us our words. Like run and help. I hear those ones a lot.
That would hurt my soul a little bit.
I have to mute myself because I'm laughing too much.
I love this duo already.
Thanks, I hate it.
As the premiering of a Connecticut Yankee comes to a close, there's a mixed reception among a lot of people seem to enjoy it, but it's just kind of like not the kind of quite the standing ovation from the performers as you would have expected. After the stage starts being cleaned up, Mr. Carter finds himself on the stage. Well, not really the most graceful in front of a microphone. I'd like to thank everyone who has come here tonight. Unfortunately, Mr. Astral has had to step out into the other room for a moment, so he can't be closing off the stage himself right now, for which he apologizes, but he'll be back in just a moment. for for just for meet and greet purposes. However, I do have a request from the prince himself, and he pulls out a large notebook. Starts going. Could the following names please stay behind before when everyone leaves? He lists out everyone's about 17 different names, 4 of which include all of yours.
Nervousness intensifies.
At this point, Esther is looking at the exit.
You notice that every exit has at least 2 members of staff on them. Okay.
That's good. At least we're both staying. I mean, I can keep eyes on you. And then maybe the good prince will sort this out for us, huh? Find your missing friend.
Yeah, hopefully.
Mhm.
Hopefully.
Amina kind of picks up on Esther's body language and goes, "Hey, I know you probably think I'm utterly terrifying right now, but you don't have to be worried about anything. This is something he's a bit extra like this. For some reason, this particular prince likes this. He just wants to basically meet and greet all the sires he hasn't met in person, pretty much. Kindred, sorry, he hasn't met in person, pretty much. It's more of a get to know each other, face to face chit chat. It's nothing to be scared. I went through it with him like 200 something years ago. You're going to be absolutely."
Esther said quietly, "It's not so much that, I wasn't aware this was a Camarilla meeting. I would have been able to prepare myself accordingly."
It's not exactly something they can put on the invitation without it drawing any suspicion, now, is it?
I know, it's just, this is an unexpected introduction to the way things are run here.
It's weird. It's how he likes to do it. Honestly, if it was me, I would just be sending letters back and forth. But he's a people person. Can be scary. Don't get me wrong. But as long as you've done nothing to upset him, which is, to be honest, a high burden for him because he deals with a lot of us a lot of the time. Got absolutely nothing to worry. Trust me.
Esther nods and she sits, but kind of eases back into her chair, but she still has a very, very tense posture. Like she's just not relaxing at all.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that last bit again, please. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. She eases back into her chair, but she doesn't fully relax at all. She's still very much tense throughout the rest of the evening and just doesn't move from her seat.
Yes. After about 10 minutes of idle chit chat between a lot of the vampires, they end up leaving the premise. Amina goes up to Charlie and goes, "It's been absolutely lovely seeing you again, Charles."
I'm glad that we could have this talk.
You don't need to be so nervous around me. You know everything about me already.
I don't know. This is a very weird situation, and I don't quite know how to handle it. To be perfectly honest, it's normally the other way round with me. I normally listen to other people's issues, not have this.
She puts her finger on your lips and goes, "Shh. Just roll with the punches. You'll do absolutely great. I know you will." Gives her like a slight tap on the cheek and goes, I hope you're keeping my Rose nice and alive."
It's about the only thing that is.
You see, you're good at this already. Anyway, it's not my business to stay because this is meant to be an informal meeting. We'll have to catch up again sometime. How does next week sound?
there's like a bit of a pause there, and he just like, yes, of course.
That sounds great. I'll send you a letter with a time and date. And on that, she starts leaving with her courtier.
There is a visible sigh of relief as soon as she's out of sight.
Everyone starts slowly leaving the room until which you assume are the 17 people that Mr. Carter called out, along with a couple members of the staff. Dominic has returned into the room, and they are still on stage. I apologise for this first meeting, as it's probably not what you expected. I can't imagine seeing someone be burned alive. Burned alive. How quaint. Dealt with on stage is exactly your first idea of formal kindred society organisation. But I feel like there has to be a few rules put in place. He starts walking around the tables and just kind of getting a kind of look at everyone's faces. He does, however, stop at the table Bill and Diego are sat. He kind of very awkwardly and invasively starts examining Diego's face.
Hey, beautiful.
He kind of just sighs and goes. He just gives you a weird, invasive sniff and goes, Brugia, definitely. Quirky by definitely a eccentric type. Not the person I invited, though, are you?
He just kind of freezes for a moment and then, I am. Look, see, I'm here. I have the invitation.
He looks towards Bill and goes, "Is this man lying to me?"
He just gives a a stare at Bill, and then yes.
Tom?
I'm on push to talk. That would be a good thing to remember. Well, you see, he's either lying to you, my prince, or he's lying to me. And by extension, Mr. Barton, I was asked to find Mr. Sanders, and Mr. Carr pointed this gentleman out to me. So I approached him with the express idea of hauling him off to see Mr. Barton after we were done this evening. That said, he's claimed to me that he isn't Mr. Sanders, and that he, in fact, is also seeking Mr. Sanders. So if you're telling me that he isn't Mr. Sanders, then I'm inclined to believe you and not this toe rag. And for wasting my time, and by extension that of Mr. Barton, I would like to seek your express permission to deal with it interloper that clearly shouldn't be here.
He sighs and goes, He looks towards Mr. Carter and goes, "Did you believe this individual when he came in?" He goes, My apologies, sir. It would appear that I am not the greatest judge of character when it comes to people lying to me these days. Very much so. You are to receive 20 lashings before the evening's out, Mr. Carter. But you are. He turns to face Diego and, "But you're newly sired, aren't you?"
Was this to you?
If it were the case, I would have found out about you eventually, and through that extension, you would have been invited here sooner rather than later. I have to imagine by your he picks up one of your posters, like just picking up like a disgusting piece of meat, kind of like only two fingering it and looking a bit disgusted. Artistic expression that you are looking for Quincy as well.
I mean, how much trouble would I be in if I said yes? How much trouble would Quincy be in if I said yes?
Honestly, the individual's not in trouble with me, at least. I'm not sure what to say about Mr. Barton's associate here, but you're not in trouble. I blame Mr. Carter here for not being able to discern your lies on coming in, but I suppose dealing with you now is better than dealing with you later. So, under my good graces, I find myself in an exceptional mood. I won't punish you this
Damn.
Bill looks a little deflated.
evening. He looks towards you and goes, "Do give my regards to Mr. Barton. I apologise for wasting your time."
Oh no, you haven't wasted my time at all. It was a pleasure to come and experience this firsthand.
You're new to his services, aren't you?
Yes. Quite new. Although, as you could probably tell, I've proven myself valuable, Mr. Barton, in the way that one with a stature such as mine would.
Well, normally such VIP invitations he wouldn't reject, so either he must be very busy these days. Oh well. Please, enjoy your stay. I suppose, given you're new here, have you been to one of these meetings before?
This is my first, and of course I will obviously relay this evening's events to Mr. Barton on your behalf. Is there any message you'd like me to convey?
Actually, yes. Be sure to inform him that Anton's payments will no longer be reaching him.
Yeah, of course, my prince.
He starts walking around, kind of awkwardly, well, not awkwardly. He's doing it with extreme confidence, but very invasively. Start examining people and starts getting close. Then it comes to Charlie and Esther's table. Like, He starts examining Charlie first. An interesting one. You don't strike me as more the common riffraff that enter my presence during these meetings. Educated?
Rather, I plied my trade as a psychologist before I was inducted into this society. I apologise. I have been taken complete disadvantage at the moment. I must confess, I am totally out of my depth. Charlie Morgan, and I'm just going to extend my hand.
He respectfully grabs your hand and gives you a firm shake and goes, "Dominic Estrell, and you've set a good first impression, Mr. What was it, sorry?"
Charlie Morgan, although you could probably just call me Charles Morgan, although you could probably just call me Charlie.
I try to respect some formality here, so if you don't mind me, I will refer to you as Mr. Morgan.
That is completely fine.
Doctor of Psychology. It's a very rapidly growing field right now.
Yes, and it's a rather interesting one, actually. There is a lot of what I would like to call, I wouldn't say mispractice, but a lot of misconceptions, at least. There is a lot of nuance to the field, and I hopefully can push the field forward in a more understanding and softer direction, or at least that's my intent.
Interesting. I can't say I'm exactly a specialist when it comes to psychological well-being, but I can't imagine throwing people into loony bins is exactly an effective method.
I actually feel that the whole practice is completely barbaric. If these doctors were actually worth their salt, they would try to help these people, not hinder them.
An interesting man of at least some stature. I think we'll get along quite well, Mr. Morgan.
Likewise, I look forward to ingratiating myself into your court. I'm very new at this. I apologise.
he starts laughing to himself a bit and goes, before he gives a moment, and he snaps his fingers really quickly and says, like, "Bring me the material, Mr. Carter." And Carter quickly walks out the room and walks back. Goes, "Maybe reading some engaging literature might prove interesting for you."
Certainly, I'm definitely one of the people that like to claim that I'm rather well read. So,
I have this in my notes, but it's not appearing. Yeah, it's just called that. You see a book of a bit of a raggedy tome, a Dracula penned by Bram Stoker.
I
Right.
raised my eyebrow.
It's not exactly accurate, but it's at least an entertaining read. I would recommend.
I'll certainly give it a read. Thank you very much. I will see if I can repay this kindness in due time.
I'm sure we'll be meeting again soon enough. He then shifts his attention over to Esther. Yes. I'm assuming you kind of like petrify still.
She's not shaking or anything like that anymore, realizing that the prince is making his rounds. She's kind of she's still got a very upright posture, but she's not shaking. She's trying not to show any visible unease anymore.
Very young. Interesting smell, though. You've been... I think I've heard your voice. We might have heard your voice in passing conversation while I was making my rounds.
Esther Desmarais, Your Majesty, and I must apologize for not addressing you formally. I was unaware of your position in the city.
Please. Majesty is a bit excessive. Prince is not exactly the first term I would choose to address myself, but the Camarilla is ancient in its organization, and it's very much not aged as well as I would hope. As people you've speaking to me in person, please call me Mr. Astral.
I will keep that in mind, Monsieur Astral.
Thank you. Kind of looks around and goes, something familiar about you, but I'm not sure what. How long have you been in England for?
I've been in London for about a year or so. I was in Paris before that.
His gaze kind of averts for a second and thinks, and how long were you in Paris for?
Some time.
I have my... No, it's rude to be so invasive into your personal life when we've only just met. My apologies. How long has it been since you were sired? If you don't mind me asking.
She's quiet for a second, and because vampires don't need to breathe or gulp really, but there's this moment of pause. I've been a kindred for 12 years now.
Well, surprisingly while, but Mr. Carter, why has it been 12 years since I've met this person's acquaintance? I'm sorry, sir. I've only just been made aware of her presence through word of mouth more than anything. He starts mumbling to him in different language. You'll probably be able to pick it up that it's very much German. I'm guessing no one here on the character would reasonably know German.
Oh no, definitely not.
Barely know English.
After a brief delay, say, curious.
I have been keeping out of the public eye. I prefer it that way. And I believe the Ivory Tower prefers it that way as well.
You've managed to learn well before you've even started. At least that's respectable of you. I'm sorry for being so evasive. I like to understand I like to understand people that I am going to be associated with in some form or another.
It's perfectly fine. I understand, Monsieur Astral.
Goes. He kind of barks a bit more at Mr. Carter in German before turning back to you. I apologise for any uncomfortableness that you may have felt during our brief chat here. Please be sure to help yourself to some more drinks. There's plenty left over from this evening.
She nods.
Kind of finishes making his way around the room, and after a brief time, he goes, "Well, it has been very delightful to meet your acquaintances this evening. Mr. Carter, would you say you've enjoyed the people's presence here?" "Very much, sir." That's a very nice for him to say. He normally is very forthcoming about the people he doesn't like. Anyway, as you all may be aware, my name's Dominic Astral. I know this is like the 7th time I've introduced myself, but I like to make that point very clear. As you'll all find yourselves at least living in London to some degree, you'll be basically kind of under my team's watch, as it were. As you've been probably told by other members of the night, the two rules you'll be following for the most part: do not reveal our presence to the humans, and, of course, no siring of your own, no siring vampires without the express permission of the Camarilla, which, for all intents and purposes, I'm the head of. There are other members here, and I'm sure you've met one or two members in the past. He points to Charlie and goes, "I believe you're already well acquainted with Miss damn it. Miss Cedrickson, Mr. Morgan."
Yes, I would. That is a very fair assessment.
A very powerful ally to have in your back pocket so early on.
I would definitely not want her as my enemy.
He just starts laughing. Yeah, you'll end up like one of her many paintings, it seems.
My character has a puzzled look at that moment and just like trying to work that statement out.
Mr. Carter, would you say that any of these people suit my needs? I'd say there's an interesting collection in the lot. Very well. You'll all be receiving further letters in the nearest future. I hope we should all have your maintained addresses. While we're at it, Mr. Carter, be sure to update the name on Quincy's address to... Sorry, I didn't catch your name, sir.
Huh? Sorry?
Didn't quite catch your name. What was it, sorry?
Oh, Diego Hyde.
Please update that to Mr. Hyde for the purposes of mailing Mr. Carter. So, and I think there's definitely some of you will be wanting to see again in the near future. Yes. Anyway, he looks at the time and goes, "We've been here a long time. It's not many hours before the sun comes up. So I'd recommend you all make a swift retreat to your domains, and we'll be in contact very soon." He kind of gives a bow off and leaves the stage. Mr. Carter then starts kind of getting ready to start shepherding people out.
The moment he's off stage and kind of done his formal farewell, Esther is going to unseen passage, and she is going to leave as quickly as possible. So I will need to roll a rouse check for that.
Yep. See how successful you are in this.
I succeed, so I don't get hungrier.
Yeah, you succeed the path. Although to be fair, you would have had all your hunger removed because you have been consuming the fine taste of blood over the evening if you've been drinking.
She would have had a glass at the start of the evening, but once it was revealed what company she was in, she would not.
Right, okay.
But if Charlie's at the table, Esther's there one moment, and then there's like a shimmery mirage sort of thing that goes over her, and she is gone.
For context of thing, I'm just going to be looking at her for a second. I'm just going to look out over and just say, I cannot believe how many of us there actually are here. And I'm going to turn around and she's gone.
Yep. Essentially, and she walks. She doesn't run because she doesn't want anyone to hear her footsteps, and she makes her way towards the exit, essentially making her way home as quickly as possible.
No, what security there was out, there wasn't very much, and you are able to find a door where there is no one like barring your path, so you're able to get out without being seen or heard.
Yep.
Okay, and I'm assuming you head straight home.
Yep.
As Carter is shepherding you all out, does anyone say anything to him?
I give him a nod and go, good evening, big man.
Again, a good evening to you, sir. Now I have to request that you leave, as you can't stay here during the day.
Oh, we're off. And I clamp I'm following Diego out, and I clamp a hand on Diego's shoulder. Like, assuming
As ever, I see.
you're going to come with me and explain all this to Mr. Barton. Look,
Such a hassle.
you're looking for Sanders. I'm looking for Sanders, and Mr. Barton has more at disposal than you or I have, right?
No,
Sooner we find him, sooner we
we're
get
all
you
looking
paid.
for Sanders. Everyone's looking for Sanders. Whoa, whoop-de-doo. Right? I'm going home. You can follow if you want, but I'm going home.
No, that's not happening.
Yes.
No,
Goodbye. And he's just gonna try and leave.
on Diego.
What was that, sorry?
I'm going to attempt to use mesmerize on Diego.
Are you doing this as you're walking out?
Well, I assume this is happening outside.
Okay.
Just outside, right? Like, and I'm literally just gonna go and like, no, you're gonna come with me.
Need to check the wording on mesmerize. Sorry, a hot minute.
It's page 256 on the PDF. I don't know about in the book.
Hey, look at this, guys. It's the first episode and we're already using skills on each other.
Mesmerize. Plus 1 rouse check. Okay. So make your rouse check. A single D10. Nope, you fail it.
Yeah, that was less than stellar.
You stare intently into his eyes. A hint sparkle in yours, but nothing happens.
Is this your way of flirting, or? Because I think you should be going home, buddy.
How about we both go back to yours then?
Yes.
I'll try and mimic the wink that Diego did earlier. I'm gonna kill you, which it's fairly accurate.
I think on that, it's a good time to end.
Oh, I'm not.
Okay, so I'll be kind and rewards the party with 2 experience points to put onto your character sheets.
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
I've already corrupted one of the party members.
I mean, I literally just want to like bundle you into a duvet cover and like carry you back to Mr. Barton. If you want to think of that as me trying to get you into bed, that's fine.
We'll be back in a slight. Oh yeah, before I forget, for those who made it to the end, with a slight change in format, we'll be doing this every 2 weeks rather than how we used to do it every 1 week. It's just so it's less stress on me, and I can refine these sessions. And now I'm going to have to work out how I'm going to incorporate a failed flirting attempt between party members.
Just let it happen. Let this
Just let it-
unfold naturally.
That happened as I expected. So thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye bye.